is up, brawlers, bladers, and fellow awesome nerds? It is I, Bakudad, one half of the Baku Boys, and if this is your first time to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. Also, please be sure to drop us a comment and check out our other projects in the description below, as we do try and release weekly Bakugan, Beyblade, and other awesome nerdy content every Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into what I've got in store for you guys for this video. So today is Wednesday, December 14th. Yes, December 14th. I lost my train of thought for a second. I do apologize about that. But yes, today is Wednesday, December 14th, and if you remember from last Friday's episode, where Baku Kid and I did our first battle of our Magic the Gathering Super Jank battle, we did a Magic the Gathering week last week, and we also said that this week as well was going to be a Magic the Gathering week, where I'm going to be opening not all 36 packs from this box, but half the box is going to be opened in this video, and then the other half will be opened on the Saturday video. And because of the fact that it is from the same set, a lot of the cards that we'll be running into, like a lot of the commons and uncommons, once we start getting more of those, it should make going through the packs a lot easier, because seeing reoccurring stuff. But we are not going to waste that much more time. We are going to jump straight to the table, where we are going to go ahead and get this Innistrad Midnight Hunt Draft Booster Pack unpacking underway. I will catch you guys at the table in just a moment. All right, and welcome back to the table, where we are ready to open 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 Magic the Gathering Innistrad Midnight Hunt packs. So let's break these up into 2 stacks of 9. These are 15 card draft packs, which is different than the set boosters that Baku Kid and I are used to getting. But this was actually all they had at our game shop, at our local game shop, which was nice. We'll take what we can get, and that's good enough for us. I'm perfectly fine with that. So we get one of these cards and a human token, a 1/1 human token. So I'm going to start making some separate piles for a lot of stuff. Okay. Black and white art island. Okay, we got the Suspicious Stowaway, a human rogue werewolf, 1/1 for an island and 1. Suspicious Stowaway can't be blocked. Whenever Suspicious Stowaway deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, then discard a card. Daybound. Seafaring Werewolf is a 2/1 werewolf. Seafaring Werewolf can't be blocked. Whenever Seafaring Werewolf deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Okay. Make a pile for blue. Borrowed Time. An enchantment for white and 2. When Borrowed Time enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent an opponent controls until Borrowed Time leaves the battlefield. Dawnheart Wardens. A human warlock, 3/3 human warlock for a plains, forest, and 1. It has Vigilance Coven at the beginning of combat on your turn if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers. Creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. Stromkirk Blood Thief, 2/2 Vampire Rogue for a swamp and 2. At the beginning of your end step, and if an opponent lost life this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target vampire you control. Bait Hook Angler, a 2/1 Human Peasant for an island in 1 with Disturb, which turns into the Hook Haunt Drifter, a 1/2 Spirit with Flying. If it would die, put it into the. If it would die, exile it instead. If it would go to the graveyard, exile it instead. Thraben Exorcism, an instant for a plains in 1, exile target spirit, creature with Disturb or enchantment. Blessed Defiance, an instant for a plains, target creature control gets +2/+0 and gains lifelink until end of turn. When that creature dies this turn, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. Rotten Reunion, an instant for a swamp, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed, and it has flashback for a swamp in 1. Timberland Guide, a 1/1 human scout for a forest in 1. When Timberland Guide enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Startle, an instant for an island in 1. Target creature gets -2/-0 until end of turn. Create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed. Draw a card. Candle Grove Witch, a 2/2 human warlock for a plains in 1. It has Covenant at the beginning of combat. On your turn, if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, Candle Grove Witch gains flying until end of turn. No Way Out, a sorcery for a swamp in 2. Target opponent discards 2 cards. You create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed. Raise the Effigy, an instant for a mountain. Choose 1, destroy target artifact. Target attacking creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Eccentric Farmer, a 2/3 human peasant for a forest in 2. When Eccentric Farmer enters the battlefield, mill 3 cards, then you may return a land card from your graveyard to your hand. Okay, second pack in. Okay, another one of those. Blank, and a full art swamp. Our rare card is the Grafted Identity. An enchantment R for 2 islands and 2. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature. Enchant creature, you control enchanted creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1. Overwhelmed Archivist, a 3/2 human wizard for an island in 2. When Overwhelmed Archivist enters the battlefield, draw a card, then discard a card, and Disturb for island in 3. It becomes the Archive Haunt, a 2/1 spirit wizard with flying. When it attacks, draw a card, then discard a card. If it would go into the graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. Necrosynthesis, an enchantment for a swamp in 1. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature has whenever another creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. When enchanted creature dies, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is its power. Put one of those cards into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Flesh Taker, a 2/2 human assassin for an island for a swamp in a plains. Whenever you sacrifice another creature, you gain 1 life and scry 1, and then you can pay 1 to sacrifice another creature. Flesh Taker gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Ooh, Tavern Ruffian. I do remember we have seen this card. It's been a minute. But that is one of the werewolf cards. The Unruly Mob. I remember we've seen that one. Hedge Witch's Mask. An equipment for a plains. Equipped creature gets +1/+1. Equipped creature can't be blocked by equipped creatures with power 4 or greater, and it has an equipped cost of 2. Otherworldly Gaze, an instant for an island. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put any number of them into your graveyard, and the rest back on top of your library in any order. Flashback for an island in 1. Crossroads Candle Guide, a 3/4 artifact scarecrow for 4. When it enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard. Tap 2, add 1 mana of any color. That's actually not bad. Howl of the Haunt, an enchantment for a forest in 2. It has flash, enchant creature. When it enters the battlefield, if enchanted creature is a wolf or werewolf, untap that creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and has vigilance. Drownyard Amalgam, a 3/6 zombie horror for an island and 4. When it enters the battlefield, target player mills 3 cards, and then for a 2, for an island and 2, the Drownyard Amalgam can't be blocked this turn. Immolation, an aura for a mountain. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2. Diregraph Horde, 3/4 zombie for a swamp and 4. When it enters the battlefield, create 2/2 black zombie creature tokens with Decayed. When you dial, exile up to 2 target cards from graveyards. Falconwrath Praetor, a 2/1 vampire for a mountain and 1. When it attacks, it deals 1 damage to defending player. I'm starting to see how these packs go. They're putting the rare right up front. So let's go ahead and pull out our token, which is a clue token, and a full art mountain. Okay, there we go. We get the Bird Admirer. I do remember we've seen this one. Yes, it is the Werewolf with Reach. Soul Guide Griff, a Hippogriff Spirit, 3/4 for a plains and 4. It has flying. When the Soul Guide Griff enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard. Ritual Guardian, a 3/2 human soldier for a plains and 2. It has Coven at the beginning of combat on your turn. If you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, this gains lifelink until end of turn. Famished Foragers, a 4/3 vampire for a mountain and 3. When it enters the battlefield, if an opponent lost life this turn, add 3 red, and then for a mountain and 2, discard a card, draw a card. Howl of the Haunt. We saw Howl of the Haunt earlier. Devious Cover-Up, an instant for 2 islands and 2. Counter target spell. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. You may shuffle up to 4 target cards from your graveyard into your library. That's actually not bad. Shadow Beast Sighting, a sorcery for a forest in 3. Create a 4/4 green beast creature token, and then it has flashback for a forest in 6. Morkrut Behemoth, a 7/6 zombie giant for a swamp in 4. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature or play another swamp in 1, and it has menace. Another Falconwrath Praetor. Locked in the Cemetery, an enchantment for an island in 1. Enchant creature. When locked in the cemetery, enters the battlefield. If there are 5 or more cards in your graveyard, tap enchanted creature. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. Rise of the Ants, a sorcery for 2 forests and 4. Create 2 3/3 green insect creature tokens. You gain 2 life, and it has flashback for 2 forests and 6. Sunrise Cavalier, a 3/3 human knight for a plains, mountain, and 1. It has trample and haste. If it's neither day nor night, it becomes day as Sunrise Cavalier enters the battlefield. Whenever day becomes night or night becomes day, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. That's actually not a bad ability. Stromkirk Blood Thief. I don't think we did see that one earlier. And then our rare is Tovalar Dire Overlord. It is a 3/3 human werewolf for a forest, a mountain, and 1. Whenever a wolf or werewolf you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card at the beginning of your upkeep. If you control 3 or more wolves and or werewolves, it becomes night. Then transform any number of human werewolves you control. And then when it transforms, it's Tovalar, the Midnight Scourge. A 4/4 legendary werewolf. Whenever a wolf or werewolf you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. And then for forest, a mountain, and X, target wolf or werewolf you control gets +X/+0 and gains trample until end of turn. That's actually a pretty good card. That'll actually work really good in Bakudad's werewolf deck. One of those, a day and night token. Ooh. Full art swamp. Okay. First card is a Gale Drifter, a 3/2 Hippogriff for an island and 3. It has flying and disturb for an island and 4, and then when it transforms, it is the Whale Drifter, a 2/2 Hippogriff Spirit with flying, and if it would go into the graveyard, exile it instead. Homestead Courage, a sorcery for a plains. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. It gains vigilance until end of turn. Flashback for a plains. Shipwreck Sifters, a 1/2 spirit for an island and 1. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card, then discard a card. Whenever you discard a spirit card or a card with disturb, put a +1/+1 counter on Shipwreck Sifters. Tapping at the Window, a sorcery for a forest and 1. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest into your graveyard. Flashback for a forest and 2. Jack-o'-lantern, an artifact for 1. For 1 and tap the Jack-o'-lantern. Sacrifice it. Exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard. Draw a card. Or tap 1 and exile it from your graveyard. Add 1 mana of any color. That's not bad. Burn the Accursed. For a forest and 4, Burn the Accursed deals 5 damage to target creature and 2 damage to that creature's controller. If that creature would die this turn, exile it instead. Novice Occultist, a 1/2 human wizard for a swamp and 1. When it dies, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. Neonate's Rush, an instant for a mountain and 2. This spell costs 1 less to cast if you control a vampire. Neonate's Rush deals 1 damage to target creature and 1 damage to its controller. Draw a card. Eaten Alive, a sorcery for a swamp. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature or pay a swamp and 3. Exile target creature or planeswalker. Dualcraft Trainer. Can't remember if we saw that one or not. No, we did not. A 3/3 human soldier for a plains and 3. It has first strike and coven. If you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, target creature you control gains double strike until end of turn. Defend the Celestis, an instant for 2 forests and 2. Distribute 3 +1/+1 counters among 1, 2, or 3 target creatures you control. Storm Skrillex, a 2/4 Drake Horror for a mountain and island and 3. It has flying. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to play. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, it gets +2/+0 until end of turn. And then our rare is the Malevolent Hermit. It is a 2/1 human wizard for a island and 1. For an island, sacrifice a Malevolent Hermit, counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 3, and then it has Disturb. For island and 2, and then it becomes the Benevolent Geist, a 2/2 spirit wizard with flying. Non-creature spells you control can't be countered, and if it would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. And then we get a foil card. We get the Death Bonnet Sprout, a 1/1 fungus for a forest. At the beginning of your upkeep, mill a card. Then if there are 3 or more creature cards in your graveyard, transform the Death Bonnet Sprout. It becomes the Death Bonnet Hulk, a 3/3 fungus horror. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may exile a card from a graveyard. If a creature card was exiled this way, put a +1/+1 counter on Death Bonnet Hulk. All right, next pack in. Okay, that a zombie creature token, a full art forest. Okay. Okay, so our first one is a Tireless Hauler, a 4/5 human werewolf for a forest and 4. It has Vigilance, and then when it transforms, it becomes the Dire Strain Brawler, a 6/6 werewolf with Vigilance. Flare of Faith, an instant for a plains and 1. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. If it's a human instead, it gets +3/+3 and gains indestructible until end of turn. Tapping at the window, we saw that. Duress, a sorcery for a swamp. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-creature, non-land card from it. That player discards that card. Shipwreck Sifters, saw that. Snarling Wolf, a 1/1 wolf for a forest. For a forest and 1, Snarling Wolf gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Activate only once each turn. Blood Pact, an instant for a swamp and 2. Target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life. Mounted Dread Knight, a 5/4 vampire knight for a mountain and 4. It has trample, and when it enters the battlefield, with a +1/+1 counter on it if an opponent lost life this turn. Hobbling Zombie, a 2/2 zombie for a swamp and 2. It has Death Touch, and when it dies, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed. We get Corpse Cobble, an instant for a swamp and an island as an additional cost to cast this spell. Sacrifice any number of creatures. Create an XX blue and black zombie creature token with Menace, where X is the total power of the sacrificed creatures. Flashback for island, a swamp and 3. Dualcraft Trainer, we saw that. Beloved Beggar, a 0/4 human peasant for a plains and 1. It has Disturb for 2 plains and 4, and it becomes the Generous Soul, a 4/4 spirit with flying and vigilance, and if it would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, exile instead. And then we get a Haunted Ridge. It enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or more other lands, and it adds either a swamp or mountain, and that is our rare land for this pack. I like that. And then we get a foil, Old Stick Fingers. It is a star legendary horror creature for a forest, a swamp, and X. When you cast this spell, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal X creature cards. Put all creature cards revealed this way into your graveyard. Then put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Old Stick Fingers' power and toughness are each equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard. That's actually pretty cool. I like that one. Okay, so let's put any rare and non-basic lands. We'll make a stack for that. Okay, next pack in. We're almost done with that first stack of 9. Get one of these, an insect token, full art forest. Okay. Starting with a Shady Traveler, a 2/3 human werewolf for a swamp and 2. It has Menace and Daybound. Then it becomes the Stalking Predator, a 4/4 werewolf with Menace. Candle Trap, an aura for a plains. Enchanted creature has Defender. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt by enchanted creature. Coven for a plains and 2. sacrifice Candle Trap, exile enchanted creature, activate only if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers. Pestilent Wolf, a 2/2 wolf for a forest and 1. And then for a forest and 2, Pestilent Wolf gains Death Touch until end of turn. Secrets of the Key, an instant for an island. Investigate. If this spell was cast from a graveyard, investigate twice instead. To investigate, create a colorless clue artifact token with pay 2, sacrifice this artifact, draw a card, and then flashback for an island and 3. Path to the Festival, a sorcery for a forest and 2. Search your library for a basic land card. Put that card onto the battlefield tapped. Then shuffle. Then if there are 3 or more basic land types among lands you control, scry 1. And it has flashback for a forest and 4. Another Duress. Electric Revelation, an instant for a mountain and 2. As an additional cost to cast this spell, discard a card. Draw 2 cards and then flashback for a mountain and 3. Defenestrate, an instant for a swamp and 2. Destroy target creature without flying. Festival Crashers, a 1/3 devil for a mountain and 1. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Festival Crashers gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Sunset Revelry, a sorcery for a plains and 1. If an opponent has more life than you, you gain 4 life. An opponent controls more creatures than you, create 2 1/1 white human creature tokens. If an opponent has more cards in hand than you, draw a card. Nebelgast Intruder, a 2/1 spirit for an island and 2. It has flash and flying. When it enters the battlefield, up to 1 target creature an opponent controls gets -2/-0 until end of turn. Ambitious Farmhand, a 1/1 human peasant for a plains and 1. When Ambitious Farmhand enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic plains card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. And then Coven for 2 plains and 1. Transform Ambitious Farmhand, activate only if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers when it transforms. It's the Seasoned Cathar, a 3/3 human knight with lifelink. Then here is our rare, which is actually a mythic, Sigardian Savior, a 3/3 angel for 2 plains and 3. It has flying. When Sigardian Savior enters the battlefield, if you cast it, return up to 2 target creature cards with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. And then we get a foil, Burly Breaker, a 6/5 human for 2 forests and 3. It has Ward 1, and when it transforms, it is the Dire Strain Demolisher, an 8/7 werewolf with Ward 3. Okay. Next pack in, we're actually getting some pretty decent pulls. I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. Another one of those. Elemental token, Full Art Plains. Okay. Starting with the Ecstatic Awakener, a 1/1 human wizard for a swamp. For a swamp and 2, sacrifice another creature, draw a card, and transform Ecstatic Awakener. Activate only once each turn. Then it becomes the Awoken Demon, a 4/4 demon. That's actually pretty cool. Okay, another Hedge Witch's Mask. Sun Gold Barrage. I think we've seen that one. No, we have not. Sun Gold Barrage, an instant for a plains and 2. Destroy target creature with toughness 4 or greater. Component Collector. A 1/4 homunculus for an island and 2. If it's neither day or night, it becomes day as Component Collector enter the battlefield. Whenever day becomes night or night becomes day, you may tap or untap target non-land permanent. That's actually pretty cool. Another Snarling Wolf. A Larder Zombie. A 1/3 zombie for an island. It has Defender, tap 3 untapped creatures you control. Look at the top card of your library. You may put it into your graveyard. Voldaren Stinger. I do remember we've seen this one because this is in my vampire deck. Blade Brand. An instant for a swamp and 1. Target creature gains death touch until end of turn. Draw a card. Organ Hoarder, a 3/2 zombie for an island and 3. When Organ Hoarder enters the battlefield, look at the top 3 cards of your library, then put one of them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. Abandon the Post, a sorcery for a mountain 1. Up to 2 target creatures can't block this turn, and it has flashback for a mountain and 3. Contortionist Troop, a 0/0 human for a forest and X. Contortionist Troop enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it, and Coven, at the beginning of your end step, if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Seize the Storm, a sorcery for a mountain and 4. Create a red elemental creature token with trample, and this creature's power and toughness are each equal to the number of instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard, plus the number of cards with flashback you own in exile. And it has flashback for a mountain and 6. Outland Liberator, a 2/2 human werewolf for a forest and 1. And then 1, sacrifice Outland Liberator, destroy target artifact or enchantment, and then when it transforms, it's the Frenzied Trapbreaker, a 3/3 werewolf with 1, and sacrifice it, destroy target artifact or enchantment. When Frenzied Trapbreaker attacks, destroy target artifact or enchantment defending player controls. And then our rare card is Memory Deluge, an instant for 2 islands and 2. Look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast the spell. Put 2 of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Flashback for 2 islands and 5. All right. Next pack in, another one of these. Human token, a full art island. Okay. Harvesttide Infiltrator. I remember we have seen that one. Gavany Silversmith, a 2/3 human soldier for a plains and 3. When Gavany Silversmith enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. Celestus Sanctifier, a 3/2 human cleric for a plains and 2. If it's neither day or night, it becomes day as Celestus Sanctifier enters the battlefield. When it transitions between day and night, look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of them into your graveyard. Plummet, an instant for a forest and 1. Destroy target creature with flying. Famished Foragers, a 4/3 vampire for a mountain and 3. When Famished Foragers enters the battlefield, if an opponent... we have seen that one. Flip the Switch, an instant for an island and 2. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 4. Create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed. Arrogant Outlaw, a 3/2 vampire noble for a swamp and 2. When Arrogant Outlaw enters the battlefield, if an opponent lost life this turn, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Ardent Elementalist, a 2/1 human shaman for a mountain and 3. When Ardent Elementalist enters the battlefield, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Vampire Interloper, a 2/1 vampire scout for a swamp and 1. It has flying and can't block. Mounted Dread Knight, a 5/4 human vampire knight for a mountain and 4. It has trample. When it enters the battlefield with a +1. Yep, I remember that one. We've seen that one. Infernal Grasp, an instant for a swamp and 1. Destroy target creature. You lose 2 life. Arcane Infusion, an instant for a mountain and an island. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal an instant or sorcery card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Flashback for Mountain Island in 3. Mystic Skull, an artifact for 2. Tap 1 and it, add 1 mana of any color. And then tap 5 and it, transform the Mystic Skull. It becomes a 5/6 artifact construct. Lands you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color. That's actually pretty decent. And then our rare is the Storm the Festival. A sorcery for 3/4 and 3. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put up to 2 permanent cards with mana value 5 or less from among them of your library in a random order. Flashback for 3/4 and 7. And then the last one out of the first 9. Another one of these. Insect token, full art mountain. Okay. Morning Patrol. Oh, wait. We have seen Morning Patrol from the last one. Cathar Commando. A 3/1 human soldier for a plains and 1. It has flash. Pay 1, sacrifice it. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. Harvesttide Sentry. A 3/1 human warrior for a forest and 1. Covenant at the beginning of combat. On your turn, if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, it can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. We get a Evolving Wilds. Devious Cover-Up. Yep, we've seen that one. Might of the Old Ways, an instant for a forest and 1. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Coven, then if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, draw a card. Shadow Beast Sighting. Siege Zombie, a 2/2 zombie for a swamp and 1. Tap 3 untapped creatures you control. Each opponent loses 1 life. Stolen Vitality, an instant for a mountain 1. Target creature gets +3/+1 until end of turn. If it's your turn, that creature gains trample until end of turn. Otherwise, it gains first strike until end of turn. Hobbling Zombie. Scab Wrangler, a 2/1 humans wizard for an island and 1. Tap 3 untapped creatures you control. Tap target creature. Hungry for More, a sorcery for a mountain and a swamp. Create a 3/1 black and red vampire creature token with trample, lifelink, and haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Flashback for a mountain, forest, and 1. Baneblade Scoundrel, a 4/3 human rogue werewolf for a swamp and 3. When it becomes blocked, each creature blocking it gets -1/-1 until end of turn when it transforms. It is the Baneclaw Marauder, a 5/4 werewolf. When it becomes blocked, each creature blocking it gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Whenever a creature blocking Baneclaw Marauder dies, that creature's controller loses 1 life. And then our rare is Siphon Insight, an instant for a swamp and an island. Look at the top 2 cards of target opponent's library. Exile one of them face down and put the other on the bottom of that library. You may look at and play the exiled card for as long as it remains exiled, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast that spell. Flashback for a swamp, island, and 1. All right, and now we get to start with the second stack of 9 Innistrad Midnight Hunt draft boosters. I am trying to go through these as quickly as I can because I know there are quite a bit of packs, but Bakudad and I, if you don't remember from our last Friday video, we did mention that we wound up getting this box for a super solid deal. We literally paid almost $9 out of pocket for this whole booster box of Innistrad Midnight Hunt draft boosters, which was super awesome. Another one of those, a zombie token, a full art swamp. Okay. Harvest Tide Infiltrator, we've seen that one. Gavany Trapper, a 0/2 human soldier for a plains. Tap 2 and it, tap target creature. Bramble Armor, a artifact equipment for a forest and 1. When Bramble Armor enters the battlefield, attach it to target creature you control. Equipped creature gets +2/+1, and equip cost is 4. Stuffed Bear, we have seen the Stuffed Bear. Falcon Abomination, we have seen the Falcon Abomination. Olivia's Midnight Ambush, an instant for a swamp in 1. Target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. If it's night, that creature gets -13/-13 until end of turn instead. Brimstone Vandal, a 2/3 devil for a mountain and 2. It has menace. If it's neither night nor day, it becomes day as Brimstone Vandal enters the battlefield. As it transitions, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Revenge of the Drowned, an instant for an island in 3. Target creature's owner puts it on the top or bottom of their library. You create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed. Diregraph Horde, we've seen that one. Phantom Carriage, a 4/4 spirit for 2 islands and 4. It has flying, and when it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a card with flashback or disrupt, put it into your graveyard, then shuffle. Dryad's Revival, a sorcery for a forest and 2. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand and flashback a forest and 4. We've seen the Death Bonnet Sprout. And then our rare is a Willow Geist, a 1/1 tree folk spirit for a forest. It has trample. Whenever 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on Willow Geist. When Willow Geist dies, you gain life equal to its power, and then we get a foil, No Way Out, sorcery for a swamp and 2. Target opponent discards 2 cards. You create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed. Next pack in. Another one of those. Zombie token. Full art swamp. Okay. Oh, we've seen the Tavern Ruffian. We've seen Candletrap, Evolving Wilds, Might of the Old Ways, Unblinking Observer, a 2/1 homunculus for an island in 1. Tap and add an island. Spend this mana only to pay a disturb cost or cast an instant or sorcery spell. Return to Nature, an instant for a forest in 1. Choose 1, destroy target artifact, destroy target enchantment, exile target card from a graveyard. Lamholt Harrier, a 2/2 wolf for a mountain in 1. For a mountain in 3, target creature can't block this turn. Shadow Beast Sighting. Blade Brand. Mounted Dread Knight. Thermo Alchemist, a 0/3 human shaman for a mountain in 1. It has Defender, and you can tap it. It deals 1 damage to each opponent, and whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, untap Thermo Alchemist. Winterhorn Blessing, a sorcery for a forest and an island. Put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature you control. Tap up to 1 target creature you don't control, and that creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Flashback for a forest island in 1. Covert Cut Purse. We have seen this one. I remember we have seen it. And then we get our rare is Vadric Astral Archmage, a 1/2 legendary human wizard for a mountain, island, and 1. If it's neither day or night, it becomes day as it enters the battlefield. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost X less to cast, where X is Vadric's power. As it transitions between day and night, put a +1/+1 counter on Vadric. Next pack in. Okay, another one of those. Zombie token. Full Art Island. Okay. And first card we see is another Harvesttide Infiltrator. Search Party Captain, a 2/2 human soldier for a plains and 3. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature you attacked this turn. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Another Candle Trap. Guide Wave, an instant for an island in 1. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If you controlled that permanent, draw a card. Might of the Old Ways. Drown Yard Amalgam. We've seen that. No Way Out. Raise the Effigy. I know we have seen Raise the Effigy. Eccentric Farmer, a 2/3 human peasant for a forest and 2. When it enters the battlefield, mill 3 cards. Then you may return a land card from your graveyard to your hand. Olivia's Midnight Ambush. Dissipate, an instant for 2 islands in 1. Counter target spell. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. Audric's Outrider, a 2/4 human knight for a plains and 3. When it or another creature you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Another Baneblade Scoundrel. Our rare is Vanquish the Horde, a sorcery for 2 plains and 6. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature on the battlefield and destroy all creatures. It is a Wrath spell. We're starting to go through these packs just a little bit quicker now. Another one of those. Day-Night token. Full Art Forest. Okay. And starting with a Bait Hook Angler. I remember we did see this. Gavany Trapper. Pax Betrayal, a sorcery for a mountain and 2. Gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap that creature. It gains haste until end of turn. If you control a wolf or werewolf, scry 2. Consider an instant for an island. Look at the top card of your library. You may put that card into your graveyard. Draw a card. Candlelit Cavalry, a 5/5 human knight for a forest and 4. Covenant at the beginning of combat. On your turn, if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, it gains trample until end of turn. Lambholt Harrier, Morkrut Behemoth, Brimstone Vandal, Defense Straight, Fading Hope, an instant for an island. Return target creature to its owner's hand. If its mana value was 3 or less, scry 1. Unnatural Moonrise. I do remember we've seen this card before. Bereaved Survivor, a 2/1 human peasant for a plains and 2. When another creature you control dies, transform it, and then it becomes the Dauntless Avenger, a 3/2 human soldier. When it attacks, return target creature card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped and attacking. And then our rare card is the Shipwreck Marsh. When it enters the battlefield, it enters the battlefield tapped unless you control two or more other lands, and it taps for a island or swamp, and it is a full art Shipwreck Marsh. And then we get another card, and it is a foil black and white art mythic. We get Sigarda, Champion of Light, a 4/4 legendary angel for 2 plains, a forest, and 1. It has flying and trample. Humans you control get +1/+1, and it has Coven. Whenever Sigarda attacks, if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a human creature card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Okay. And we are almost done with this second stack. And I think the Saturday video is probably going to wind up going pretty... I'm hoping it goes by pretty quickly. It should at least. Okay. First card is a Lunarch Veteran, a 1/1 human cleric for a plains. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life, and it has Disturb for a plains in 1 when it transforms. It is the Luminous Phantom, a 1/1 spirit cleric with flying. Whenever another creature you control leaves the battlefield, you gain 1 life. And if it would, exile if it goes to the graveyard. Sungold Barrage, Crossroads Candle Guide, Otherworldly Gaze, Harvesttide Sentry, Consider, Ardent Elementalist, Bat Whisperer, a 4/2 vampire for a swamp in 3. When when it enters the battlefield, if an opponent lost life this turn, create a 1/1 black bat creature token with flying. Stolen Vitality, Hungry for More, Lunar Frenzy, an instant for a mountain in X. Target creature you control gets +X/+0 and gains first strike and trample until end of turn. Burly Breaker, a 6/5 human werewolf for 2 forests and 3. It has Ward 1. And whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, counter it unless that player pays 1. When it transforms, it becomes the Dire Strain Demolisher, an 8/7 werewolf with Ward 3. And then we get another Old Stick Fingers. I know we've seen Old Stick Fingers before. I know it was one of the... I know it was one of the black-white. Yep. It was one of the black and white art cards we got. So that is the second Old Stick Fingers we've got. Reposition the camera. Sorry about that. And then we get a foil Cathar Commando, a 3/1 human soldier for a plains in 1. It has flash. Pay 1, sacrifice it, destroy target artifact or enchantment. And we are down to the last 4 packs, which actually includes the one in my hand. Get another one of those. A clue token. Full Art Mountain. Okay. We get the Bird Admirer, a 1/4 human archer werewolf for a forest in 2. It has reach. Oh, that is the alternate art for the Bird Admirer, the one that has reach. Ritual Guardian, Stone Guide Griff, Storm Rider Spirit, a 3/3. Oh wait, we have seen the Storm Rider Spirit. It's been a while. Bounding Wolf, a 3/2 wolf for a forest in 2. Flash and reach. Silverbolt, we have seen the Silverbolt. Crawl from the Cellar, a sorcery for a swamp. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature you can up to 1 target zombie you control. Flashback for swamp and 3. Moon Rager Slash, an instant for a mountain in 2. This spell costs 2 less to cast if it's night. Moon Rager Slash deals 3 damage to any target. Blood Pact, an instant for a swamp and 2. Target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life. Dawn Heart Rejuvenator. I know we have seen this one. Cathartic Pyre. An instant for a mountain and 1. Choose 1. It deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker. Discard up to 2 cards, then draw that many. Gavany Dawnguard, a 3/3 human soldier for 2 planes and 1. It has Ward 1. If it's neither day nor night, it becomes day when it enters the battlefield. When it transitions, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card with mana value 3 or less from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Covetous Castaway, a 1/3 human for an island and 1. When it dies, mill 3 cards, disturb for 2 islands and 3. When it transforms, it's the Ghostly Castigator, a 3/4 spirit with flying. When it enters the battlefield, you may shuffle up to 3 target cards from your graveyard into your library. And if it would go to the graveyard, exile instead. And then our rare card is Rem Carolus, Stalwart Slayer, a 2/3 legendary human knight for Plains, Mountain, and 1. It has flying and haste. If a spell would deal damage to you or another permanent you control, prevent that damage. If a spell would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals that much damage plus 1 instead. That's not bad. And we are almost done with this. And I don't know if you guys can tell, but I am actually getting a little bit tired, but that's okay. We are almost done with this. Another one of those, a wolf token, and a full art plains. Okay, another Tavern Ruffian, Cathar Commando, Pax Betrayal, a Plummet, a Larder Zombie, Candlelit Cavalry, Abandon the Post, a sorcery for a mountain and 1, up to 2 target creature can't block. Yep, we've seen that one. Defenestrate, Voldaren Stinger, Novice Occultist, Play with Fire, an instant for a mountain. Play with Fire deals 2 damage to any target. If a player is dealt damage this way, scry 1. Clear Shot, an instant for a forest and 2. Target creature you control gets +1/+1 until end of turn. It deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. Another Mystic Skull. And then our rare is the Triskaidekaphile, a 1/3 human wizard for a island and 1. You have no maximum hand size at the beginning of your upkeep. If you have exactly 13 cards in your hand, you win the game, and you can pay an island and 3 to draw a card. 2 packs to go. Another one of these, bird token, full art plains. Okay. And we get another Gale Drifter, an Unruly Mob, Devious Cover-Up, Duel for Dominance, an instant for a forest and 1. Coven, choose target creature you control and target creature you don't control. If you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, put a +1/+1 counter on the chosen creature you control. Then the chosen creatures fight each other. Unblinking Observer, Evolving Wilds, Stolen Vitality, Shadow Beast Sighting, Morkrut Behemoth, Falconwrath Perforator, Dawnheart Mentor, a 0/4 human warlock for a forest and 2. When it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 white human creature token. And Coven for a forest and 5. Target creature you control gets +3/+3 and gains trample until end of turn. Activate only if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers. Ominous Roost, An enchantment for a island and 2. When Ominous Roost enters the battlefield, or whenever you cast a spell from your graveyard, create a 1/1 blue bird creature token with flying, and this creature can block only creatures with flying. A Flame Channeler, a 2/2 human wizard for a mountain and 1. When a spell you control deals damage, transform the Flame Channeler, and then it becomes the embodiment of flame. A 3/3 elemental wizard. Whenever a spell you control deals damage, put a flame counter on embodiment of flame, and then pay 1, remove a flame counter from embodiment of flame, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. And then our rare card is the Bloodline Culling. Instant for 2 swamps and 1. Choose 1. Target creature gets -5/-5 until end of turn. Target creature tokens get -2/-2 until end of turn. And then last pack in. Last pack out of the first 18 packs. One of those. Devil token. Full Art Mountain. Okay. We get another Bird Admirer, Search Party Captain, Return to Nature, Geist Wave, Might of the Old Ways, Drown Yard Amalgam, Locked in the Cemetery, Siege Zombie, another Immolation, Blade Stitched Scab, a 2/3 Zombies Soldier for a swamp and an island. Other zombies you control get +1/+0. Turn the Earth, an instant for a forest. Choose up to 3 target cards in graveyards. The owners of those cards shuffle them into their libraries. You gain 2 life, and then flashback for a forest and 1. Village Watch, a 4/3 human werewolf for a mountain and 4. It has haste, and then when it transforms, it becomes the Village Reavers, a 5/4 werewolf. Wolves and werewolves you control have haste. And then our rare card is the Rite of Harmony. An instant for a plains and a forest. Whenever a creature or enchantment enters the battlefield under your control this turn, draw a card, and then flashback for plains, forest, and 2. And then we get a rare, well, a foil, full art black and white swamp. And with that, that is going to wrap it up for this first half of the box and opening of the Innistrad Midnight Hunt draft packs. Saturday's videos should actually go by a lot quicker since we've already seen a vast majority of a lot of the commons and a few of the uncommons as well. But I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, go ahead and like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also check out the other projects we have in the description below. But until next video, I am Bakudad signing out, one half of the Baku Boys, and always remember to Bakugan Brawl, let it rip, and stay awesome and nerdy. Peace out, guys.